All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to another Rockerbox webinar. We've got a great panel of experts in business and marketing measurement with us today to talk about prepping your media mix now for a stronger Q4. So we have experts from our own Rockerbox, from one of our partners, DMI, and also from a client at Gorjana. So I'm going to let each of you just go through who you are and why you're joining us today. So I'll start with Steve.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining. My name is Steve Dingeldein. I am one of the account directors here at Rockerbox. Excited for today's topic. I have the privilege of speaking with many different brands wrestling with these questions, and I help brands kind of evaluate Rockerbox as being in their measurement partner.
Awesome. We'll move right down the line to Kristina.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Kristina Nolan. I'm our Vice President of Media Services here at DMI Partners. We're a digital marketing agency, but I oversee our affiliate division as well as our paid and organic search and social teams, really helping to make sure our clients are getting the most out of their marketing investments across each of their channels. So super excited to chat today.
Yeah, same. And last but not least,
hi everyone. My name is Kyle Brucculeri. I'm the VP of e-commerce at Gorjana. Yes, it's called Gorjana, for those of you that have been mispronouncing it for forever. I'm really excited to be here and join two of our longest standing partners. I think, between DMI and Rockerbox, we've worked with both for almost the last 4 years, and they've both been phenomenal partners, and excited to share what they do.
Awesome. And I'm pretty sure I was one of those people mispronouncing Gorjana for the longest time until I started working here, but I've been a long time window shopper of Gorjana. Before we jump into it, all of you watching us today, you might know of all three of us or none of us. So we'll just give a quick intro to each of the parties represented here so you get a little more context before we go into our panel. So Steve.
Yeah, so I work with Rockerbox. We specialize in helping brands understand their marketing. And so we primarily focus on the full gamut of measurements across digital and offline media, helping you understand each channel, the effectiveness, your users' paths to conversion, and much more.
And then Kristina, talk to us about DMI.
Awesome. So DMI Partners is a full service digital marketing agency. We will celebrate our 20th year in business this year. And we have all of your core digital channels, everything from affiliate to CRM to paid and organic, social and search. We have our own in-house creative team, web development team, and we've even helped quite a few D2C brands build their branding from scratch. But really where we differentiate within the spaces with our affiliate approach and our CRM/email approach. So helping brands combine those efforts to, again, make the most out of their marketing investment.
Awesome. And then our joint customer, Gorjana.
Yeah, everyone, I don't think there's not too much to add other than what's on your screen, right? We are a jewelry brand founded almost 20 years ago. So it's been a long road to get where we are today. I think the highlight for us and our recent growth is our stores. When I came on board almost 4 or 5 years ago now, we had 6 stores, and now we have 47. And so no matter where you are, if there's not a store near you, there probably will be one soon. And it's been really exciting to be part of this brand and the growth, and I'm really proud of everything we've accomplished.
Awesome. Well, great to have you guys all here today. We're going to just jump right into the questions, give each of you a chance to share your perspective on these topics. So first off, why should brands be diversifying rather than just relying on channels like Facebook and Google? And Kristina, we'll start it off with you.
Awesome. So great question. I think, first of all, reduce dependency on those two platforms is important. There have been a lot of privacy changes that have affected the performance of channels like Facebook, in addition to different issues with those platforms, like technical issues and blackouts. I feel like a lot of marketers have lost trust over time. And so I think becoming less reliant or more diversified is important. So as more issues pop up, your revenue is more distributed and less is at risk as those things continue to happen. And then I think another factor in reduced dependency is just cost. Meta and other social channels have become really expensive. And so in order to maintain profitability, especially in the economic climate that we're in, where everyone is kind of getting squeezed, brands need to be pushing on lower cost acquisition channels to make their business work. And then, I mean, audience reach is important too. Obviously, Facebook and Google have massive user bases, but relying solely on them limits your brand's exposure to specific audiences, and creating a healthier marketing mix can allow you to tap into different demographics and target new customer segments that might not be on those platforms. And alongside that point, those are very competitive channels. And so experimenting with different strategies and channels and finding unique ways to engage with your target audience and be where your competitors are not can help you stay one step ahead of the game for those competitors who may be solely relying on those traditional platforms. And then lastly, the more channels you invest in, the more you're going to learn from an attribution standpoint where the most valuable touch points are. And that's and really understanding kind of what's actually impacting purchasing behavior. So I think it gives you a whole nother layer of data and insights to make sure you're investing in the right ways.
Yeah. I love all that, especially the point about the increased competition on those channels. You know, they are popular, which means there's a lot of other people using them. So it's in your best interest to branch out and find those less trodden paths. Steve, so you mentioned you work a lot every day with clients on this kind of problem. So what's your take?
Yeah, I think that, Kristina, you hit on some of the key ones that we hear every day, which is, it's difficult sometimes to understand performance when the platform has a tweak in their algorithm or in their measurement approach. Some of the privacy legislation and the ability of platforms to accurately track and report back have really amplified the challenges and why brands are more open to diversifying. But I think some of the key things really are the fact that there are more and more ways to engage with your customers today. There's more mediums and platforms that your target market may be active on. And if you haven't branched out beyond just Google and Facebook, now is a great time to start to test into some of those channels, while at the same time recognizing that in today's economic pressure, every dollar spent is being heavily scrutinized as to see really what is the impact of that spend, where are we seeing that return. So making sure that both as you invest in net new channels, you also have the ability to accurately track and measure the impact, whether you're just running experiments on the channel to understand that incremental impact or the ripple effects that investing in these other channels have on your core marketing mix. But at the end of the day, that can really help you to diversify and find new customers. So researching who are your target market across some of these other platforms like TikTok, Pinterest, Snapchat, those are very popular for brands to start testing into, but also where Rockerbox comes in by helping brands measure and deduplicate their sales in dollars across all of these different channels and touch points is really important to understand, hey, am I really achieving the goals that I'm set out to for maximizing my spend as I test into these new channels? But also, as Kristina pointed out, it's also diversifying your marketing strategy so that you are able to really make sure that your budget is properly allocated across different channels. Even if maybe part of the strategy is punching into OTT or some other type of offline marketing channel for the first time, it's very important to really have your goals aligned, both on spending into that channel, but also the ability to accurately measure the impact as well.
Got it. And moving on to Kyle, you're the one in the position where you're actually putting this stuff into practice. Where do you stand on this?
I think, very similar to Kristina, or to both you guys, actually. I think we have to realize as marketers that at least 30% of digital internet traffic exists outside of Facebook and Google. So to only rely on those two, you're ignoring 30% of potential visitors or potential engagements online. And then the second part to that, another number, which I think most people are probably aware of, is just the simple rule of seven, right? On average, it tends to take people at least 7 touch points to convert however you can define a conversion, but it typically takes at least 7 touches to get, a new customer or even repeat customer to convert. And so if you rely solely on Google and Facebook, your depth of engagement is going to be incredibly shallow. And I think if you are able to spread your brand across more touch points, you add depth, you add validation, right? Everyone here knows anyone can run a Facebook ad, anyone can get on Google, but to have your brand and your content span across channels to be where your customer is and to provide thoughtful, engaging content is a huge part of building a marketing mix that can scale and that also isn't as susceptible to the issues that this group is already defined.
Yeah. So I'll stay with you, Kyle. We know we want to move out beyond those two channels, Facebook and Google. So we'll start with you for the kind of individual perspective, and then zoom out with Kristina and Steve. But what are some of those core channels that you see as most important to invest in?
I don't say what I just said to diminish search and social. I still think probably they are, two of the most important, controlling over 50% of kind of digital online activity. But I do think, to own the relationship with customers, email and SMS are obviously crucial. I think, if you haven't experimented or explored or really gotten on board with SMS, I think it's a huge part. People trust it more from brands than they ever have before. Engagement is incredibly high. And most importantly, open rates are 100%. No one likes the little red dot above their, text message to have 1,000 unread like they do with email. So it's a great way to stand out. And then I think affiliate is also huge. I often talk to brands who are doing very little in affiliate, or at least falsely assume that if the affiliate marketplace is only for influencers or only for discounts. We don't do a lot of either. I think, our influencer engagements are limited to content creation only, and we don't discount anywhere for anyone unless you work here. So you don't have to have, sales all the time or discount codes to really take advantage of affiliate marketplaces and to drive engagement with customers that are constantly in that area of the digital marketing mix. And then the last one, I think, that's it's not a marketing channel per se, but I think certainly can be viewed as one, and we do here, is physical retail. And whether that's through wholesale channels or owned retail, I think enough can't be said for being able to provide a physical experience to, again, deepen that connection with your customer, allow them the opportunity to touch, try on. I mean, obviously it varies across, businesses, but just to create an in-person relationship, I think is one of the biggest difference between a brand that is a flash in the pan or a brand that is, going to build a great business that is going to last a long time.
That is awesome. I would love to hear actually Steve talk a little bit about that, what you said there, that balance between, in-person retail and also digital channels. But put a pin in that. First, I want to go to Kristina and hear kind of zooming back, what are those core channels for brands? And if it's not specific ones, obviously it differs from industry to industry. How do people identify those?
Yeah, I definitely echo a lot of Kyle's sentiments here. I mean, definitely your paid channels like Google and typical paid social channels like Meta and TikTok. Spend on TikTok is up over 35% comparatively to last year for our clients investing in that channel. And although I think they're are definitely some impending challenges with that platform. It has really high engagement, and our brands seem to be riding that wave. I think where the affiliate channel is at today, it makes a lot of sense to be investing there. And then homegrown channels like SEO and email. I think that's a place people don't always lean as heavily into as they should. But when you invest in those channels, you're building assets that pay dividends over time. So that's kind of my take. And also, again, echoing Kyle's sentiments, I think Gorjana is one of the leading D2C brands with stores popping up all over the US, but a lot of the D2C brands we work with are taking an omni-channel approach and creating more in-store presence than ever before, which I think is saying a lot considering we just got out of a pandemic where D2C was the buzz. And here we are now with kind of that turning on its head.
Steve, I saw you unmuted. I feel like
I was going to agree. Those channels listed are certainly important. The core channels like Google and Facebook, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Here at Rockerbox, we have seen some budget shifts taking place. We do offer benchmarking data across the entire portfolio of spend that we measure, and year over year, we've seen Google spend actually increase while decrease taking place on the Meta properties. So that's really interesting. And TikTok is certainly very popular. Snapchat, Pinterest are also popular channels for brands to test in. But really, a lot of it does depend on your business. Who are you trying to reach? Do you want to really leverage a more visual platform, depending on your product and who your demographics are that you're looking to reach? Another, again, very popular channel that brands have been experimenting into would be connected TV. Connected TV offers a lot of unique targeting opportunities. It's a growing audience. More and more, consumers, especially in the US, are switching over to connected TV as an option versus some of the traditional cable television. So that opens up some new ways to really test into that channel. That is a channel that Rockerbox measures, and it's more and more important for brands, again, to kind of, as they're diversifying with an omni-channel sales approach, also being able to implement an omni-channel measurement approach to be able to understand, again, each one of your paid and your organic channels from both the digital landscape, but also into some of these offline channels and touch points. And Maggie, you kind of mentioned this earlier, but one of the things that Rockerbox is also able to do is help brands see the impact of their marketing against those online digital conversions. But we can also help brands by ingesting their retail sales information and seeing, what ads are driving their in-store sales, which is a very big challenge that many brands face. And they know that there's many times correlation impact as spend increases on certain channels. They might see increase in sales within their stores, but maybe they didn't have the right measurement approach to be able to actually track and attribute sales back to their marketing efforts. And that's an important area that we can also help brands solve.
Awesome. And I want to, before we move to the next slide, we have one question from Gavin. When is TikTok impression tracking coming? At the moment, Stephen, you feel free to jump in on this. I don't believe we have a solid ETA, but I will say in just about a month here, we've got a virtual conference, our Rockerbox Summer Camp is what we're calling it. And we do have a roadmap presentation on the books our head of product is going to give. And if it is on the roadmap, if we've got more details, I'm sure it'll be in that presentation. And I will grab that link to the sign up while these guys are talking about our next question. And we talked about this just a little bit, it came up, but really quickly, any other underestimated channels you think brands should be looking into more? And Kristina, we'll start with you.
Awesome. I acknowledge that I'm probably going to sound a little biased here, but I think with where the affiliate channel is at today, it holds an incredible amount of value. I'm always really surprised to see brands not investing in the channel at all or having such a low investment that the channel is making up less than 5% of total e-commerce revenue. We call the affiliate channel the channel of all channels because it really has something for everybody. And historically, brands have hesitated to invest in that channel because it was so heavily focused on bottom of the funnel activity. And now that's just really not the case. While you certainly have some of those players, any PR team will tell you that you need an affiliate program to secure digital coverage these days. And we work closely with our brands to manage the influencer channel in a cost-effective way through affiliate. We work with a lot of major credit card companies like Amex through the affiliate channel. We've seen brands use different search partners to help with brand conquesting, and same thing, a really cost-effective way. And there are even CTV partners who have more recently entered the space. Hence the reason we kind of call it the channel of all channels, because it really is a great way to test different channels and marketing strategies in a relatively low risk way. And for clients that are investing in the channel, we see affiliate make up around 16% of total e-commerce revenue. And oftentimes it's one of the most cost-effective channels for them. And I think the last call out I'll make here is Rockerbox has been extremely valuable to our clients in helping to evaluate and ease their concerns on the incrementality of the affiliate channel. We had a client just yesterday where we were doing a deep dive into affiliates' contribution of their overall marketing mix, looking at Rockerbox data, and we were able to highlight some really interesting insights. One of those is that when affiliate is within the path to purchase, the AOV is over 30% higher, in this case $300 higher than when affiliate is not involved in the path to purchase. So if there are concerns about incrementality with affiliate, a tool like Rockerbox can be really helpful at addressing those concerns head on. And again, it's my pick for one of the most underestimated channels.
All right, Zach, any more thoughts to add there?
Kyle?
I'm so
no worries.
sorry.
Well, I can't
Wow.
answer the affiliate question or side better than that. I mean, it's certainly on my list of underestimated channels for all the reasons Kristina mentioned, and I mentioned as well. I think it's often thought of as a discount medium, but it's not that. And again, the credit card marketplaces alone are huge opportunities to engage with big spenders, Amex, Capital One, and I think those are just on just a few of them. I think direct mail is often overlooked because it can be expensive. The barrier to entry is a little higher. But it also depends on how big you go. I think you can start with a reasonable budget in direct mail and cover at the very least, programmatic retargeting. We've seen a ton of success there, as backed by, our data in Rockerbox to show a high level of incrementality. But not just that, supporting our new store openings with postcards, seasonal catalogs, everything we're able to measure and see very clearly how, again, that a physical experience, whether it be a store or an actual book, catalog, or postcard in your mailbox, goes a long way to adding depth to the brand experience and giving something people can hold and touch. And it's not just ephemeral like an email that you just delete or a social post that is here and gone as you scroll. Those things tend to stay, and yeah, they ultimately end up gone, but I think they have a lot more staying power on your coffee table, on your kitchen table, on my desk. I think we're all marketers. We probably pay closer attention to that stuff than most people, but still just a really incredible brand touch point. I also think Steven talked about connected TV. Connected TV is great, but I think linear TV is very underestimated. Again, like print, I think there's a higher barrier to entry for most brands because you have to spend a lot, and terms are typically upfront, just like print with those mediums. And with CTV, terms are more digital terms like Facebook and Google, where you're paying net 30. So that makes it very different. But CTV is expensive. I think when you look at it from a CPM perspective, you pay a premium for the layers of targeting that CTV offers, which is a good thing, and I think it's part of a well-balanced mix. But if you're looking for efficiency, you just can't beat the reach and cost of linear. It's cheaper than anything when you look at CPMs. Probably And so that's why we love it and are excited to invest more there. And then lastly, I think display is like kind of the redheaded stepchild. No one likes to talk about. Everyone thinks of it as kind of trash. But if you do it right, and I think again, affiliate is the same. There's the same story with affiliate. There's big opportunity if it's done correctly. If you work with the right partner and they're able to help execute to target the right audience with the right creative at the right time. Affiliate or display is not a channel that should be overlooked. And I don't just mean retargeting. I mean prospecting with native ads or rich media ad placements. Because again, like I mentioned at the top, there's at least 30% of traffic that doesn't exist on Facebook and Instagram. And again, people are staying there longer, articles that they're reading, et cetera, et cetera. So there's big opportunity in display to support a well-balanced marketing mix.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that, Kyle. I think, I had pegged also to mention display and linear TV as some of those underestimated channels. Some of it does go back to who's your target market. If you're able to kind of leverage linear for that broad reach, there's still the ability to target within that, but having access to good analytics and having a measurement approach that can help you see really what's the impact of linear TV and how does that then drive some of your other bottom of funnel channels. That's a huge value unlock that we provide to brands who are testing into linear TV. But also, sometimes investing in linear TV, that can add some brand credibility, depending, again, who you're trying to reach. Seeing brands, their story told on that medium can be very powerful. Also, a couple of other ones I haven't heard yet, but like podcasts can be valuable depending on who you're looking to reach, trying to find, again, the right type of podcast, the right ability to track and measure. Podcasts are a notoriously difficult channel to track, but some of our clients leverage things like promo codes or vanity URLs or other types of methods to track the impact of a podcast that they're either sponsoring or part of, or even implementing like a post-purchase survey to say, hey, how did you hear about us? Specific podcast being mentioned within that survey can help prove out, another example of one of these underestimated channels. But another one that's, a little bit of a sleeper every now and then could be even like Reddit and Bing. Some of the companies that we see investing in that, they get great returns. And also, when you kind of look at the channels that you're investing in, it's helpful to understand, what is the role of that channel in your marketing funnel, so that not just as you're spending money, are you seeing that on the path to purchase, but was it a click or a view? Was it the first touch on a user's journey, the first time they've ever seen or been exposed to your brand? Those are helpful insights that can help guide what your other future strategies are going to look like. And, today's webinar is titled How to Prep Your Mix for a Better Q4. It's a great time to start testing in, if you have the budget available, to see what are some of the insights that you can glean now before really doing some heavy up spending.
Yeah, and you segued very smoothly right into our next question, which is, how should you go about using data? What should you look at to understand where you need to increase or decrease spending? And we'll just keep going with you, Steve.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think today brands have access to so much data. It's really being able to take a step back and say, what data do I have and how can I leverage the insights available to really, at the end of the day, optimize where I'm spending? So here at Rockerbox, of course, we are all about the data. And so we are an independent measurement platform. We help brands measure independently the impact across all of their different channels so that you can see each one of those unique touch points against a user's journey and understanding that deduplicated CPA and ROAS, because a lot of times brands come to us when they're just working out of different siloed areas of information. All of these great platforms that we are talking about today, many of them are just measuring their own impact. And so as you log into each of those platforms, they're telling you, hey, great, you had X number of impressions and views. Here's how much revenue we drove for you. You go to the next platform, you start adding it all up, and you're kind of taking a step back and you're like, well, that's great if all of that revenue was true, but at the end of the day, we're able to help you see into the impact each of those channels had on your user's path to conversion so that you can understand deduplicated ROAS and CPA. And what that allows is the ability to say, hey, now I know where to shift my budget through the data. And that's very insightful by being able to move away from either just Google Analytics or these siloed in-platform reporting to having a unified measurement strategy in place with, again, Rockerbox being that independent measurement partner versus, Google, who's reporting back to you, who you're also spending millions of dollars with, grading their own homework, so to speak. So just kind of understanding what is the data that is helping you make those decisions. Who are your partners in place that are also kind of helping you make those decisions around where to allocate your budget, and just making sure that you have trust in what that underlying data is telling you is really key.
And Kristina, what's your take on this from the agency side?
Yeah, I think all in all, like more of the same. I mean, I think first and foremost is just aligning on the KPIs that are the drivers of your business. For a lot of our clients at the most basic level, we're looking at things like CAC, ROAS, AOV, lifetime value, new to file rate, some of your most basic marketing metrics, but tying goals to those that are tied to profitability are important and crucial to understanding whether your efforts are successful or not. And then I think from there, understanding the effectiveness of each channel in driving users to purchase and diving deeper into things like channels that are driving the highest revenue and the fastest conversions, which requires you to know and understand marketing path data, which is another shameless plug for Rockerbox here, but their marketing path view has definitely been able to show us these touch points before a consumer decidedly makes their purchase and converts, and more specifically paths with high revenue but low volume, which shows where we can up our investment in certain channels.
And Kyle, I got it right this time. I'd love to hear, how this applies to what you do and what you found works best for your.
Well, I think again, Stephen and Kristina covered it very well. In most respects, I think when I think about data, right, and Kristina just mentioned making sure you have clear definitions for and benchmarks for your KPIs and your goals that's the foundation. And I think there's a KPI I think that's often not discussed enough in these circles. Everyone talks about CAC and ROAS and CPA. I don't hear enough people talking about cost per session, CPS or cost per visit. I think it is a hugely important metric that helps a marketer understand whether or not a channel is behaving in an efficient way, just because everything is about, the customer journey starts with that visit. How much are you spending to get that person to your site and from what medium, and making sure that first click and visit is efficient in the midst of your entire marketing mix, I think is incredibly crucial, because it will determine how quickly you're able to scale, whether you're able to scale in 5% increments or in 50% increments. It all depends on your costs. And so that's a metric that I think needs to be talked about more. And why, when you look at like TikTok, we spend a little bit in TikTok, for example. We don't spend a ton because it's not a huge traffic driver. And when it is, the traffic is incredibly expensive. And so, and people are on TikTok like to stay on TikTok. So while there's a huge CPM value there, you can reach TikTok users pretty efficiently from an awareness perspective. And I think there's definitely a trickle down effect, and certainly why that channel should be considered as a part of a balanced marketing mix. So one of the reasons why we don't go crazy there, just because the traffic costs are way too high. But then again, coming back to the data, I think it's important to have, again, an independent platform that normalizes the data, right? To Stephen's point, Google's grading their own homework. Facebook does the same thing. TikTok does the same thing. Pinterest does the same thing. All of you guys on this call probably have reps at each of these platforms telling you you need to spend more money and why they're the best thing ever and they're going to help you make more money. Of course they are. But you need to have, and again, we all know that last click data from Google Analytics also isn't the best barometer. It's a good benchmark, but not the best barometer for, a balanced marketing mix. And so you need something that's going to normalize all of these channels in one place, allow you to reset benchmarks and understand, challenge your assumptions about where these channels fit across the funnel. Are they behaving as a top of funnel awareness channel? Are they behaving as a bottom of funnel closing channel? And then I think understanding, to answer this question, it's easier and I think often more valuable to know where not to spend. Increasing spend is, there's a complicated matrix to that, and it's unique to everyone's mix where, you can't increase past certain levels or in certain channels without upsetting other areas of your mix. But knowing where to stop spending, I think, is crucial, because wasted spend can drown a business. And so I think when you have a tool, an independent tool that allows you to, normalize your CPAs and your CAC targets and understand, I define benchmarks for efficiency, and that way you can say, all right, this campaign, this channel is incredibly inefficient. Let's pull back. Let's try something different, or let's cut it completely. And so I think that's where having, a tool like Rockerbox can really help, shine the light on those paths forward and make it so that efficiency is at the top of your mind at all times.
A lot of really good points in there. Also, I think your point about cost per session has the makings of like a really, really good LinkedIn post. Like right there, you've got a really attention grabbing why cost per session is an underrated metric you should be looking at. I love it. So we've just got 2 more questions. Anyone, if you have any questions along the way, don't feel free to ask them now. No need to wait to the end. We'll get to them as we can. So 2 more questions, and this one is a little bit more high level, but we're talking about the effectiveness of your overall marketing mix. So what are some ways that brands can test that overall effectiveness of their strategy? And we'll start with you, Kyle.
I think there's a couple of ways that we look at this. Obviously, I think this is where having a tool, and again, Rockerbox is here, so I don't feel bad about plugging them. In order to get a good read on, testing new channels, you need an independent platform in order to assess their value. Again, any new platform, you always have to take what they say with a grain of salt. And again, that GA, like I mentioned before, isn't going to tell you the whole picture. So you need to have a platform that can give you that insight in an unbiased way. So that's kind of first and foremost for us. I think on top of that, we run holdouts across most of our channels. I think they're native to channels like direct mail, but we still do holdout testing across the board. One way in which we do that is through matched market tests. Obviously, a brand like ours with the retail presence, we're able to put together different geographic areas where we have stores or don't have stores, and we run specific campaigns or ads in certain geographic trade areas and not in others, and we look at the difference, and that really helps us identify incrementality in that sense as well. And then there's just, again, in Rockerbox, we're able to look at, again, with a normalized multi-touch attribution model, we know we have specific benchmarks for performance across for each channel, for each type of campaign, and we're able to identify very easily and quickly. I think, moreover, I think with a lot of incrementality tests, it's one of the challenges with incrementality is you have to wait. Incrementality requires a lot of patience. You have to wait 14 days, a month, 6 weeks before you really are able to draw statistically relevant conclusions from the data. But with an MTA model, you're able to make those decisions far more quickly. And so that you're not wasting spend for 6 weeks before you're making an iteration or adjustment to your campaign or pulling spend back or rediverting it elsewhere.
Great points. Steve, do you want to jump in on this one?
Yeah, I think that, implementing a measurement strategy is one of the most effective ways to test again what is working and what's not working. If there's not already a strategy in place, and some of what we've been talking about is of top of mind, certainly reach out to the Rockerbox team. We'd love to kind of meet with you. But I think, as Kyle pointed out, there are some great ways to continually experiment within the channels that you're working on, whether that's experimenting with your A/B tests or creative, or doing those geo holdout tests. Those are great ways to also kind of help measure the impact of your marketing, while at the same time acknowledging that you need to have a holistic measurement strategy in place. If lift testing is the only measurement source that you have, there's significant gaps that exist within that. Kyle also mentioned, like, there's a huge opportunity cost to the time it takes to derive insights, being able to hold tests, constant over a period of time, and having statistically significant results. So being able to trust the results of those tests are really important too. And that's why a lot of brands pair all of their measurement strategies with Rockerbox, where we provide that always on measurement approach, so that brands can understand, the impact of their tests against their baseline performance. So having the underlying data set is really key, but also just being able to, again, understand, what are you looking to test? What are going to be your benchmarks for success? As Kristina pointed out earlier, defining those KPIs that are important, so that you understand, what's going to judge a test as far as being successful or not successful, and understanding the ripple effects that any test has across all of your channels is important too.
Awesome. And Kristina, how do you approach this when you're giving advice about this to brands?
Yeah, I think multivariate testing to identify the combination of different elements that yield the highest conversion rate, engagement, and other desired metrics can be super beneficial. We talked a little bit earlier about post-purchase surveys, but I think surveying in general, but especially post-purchase, can give you insight into valuable feedback that comes directly from your customers on why they purchased and what they considered as solidifying their decision. And then we also do a lot of brand tracking analysis at DMI, where we're looking at overall brand health, brand awareness, brand perception, brand associations, brand loyalty, and then competitive benchmarking and brand equity, share of voice, to measure how those things are changing as our marketing efforts change. And then one point I just want to make on attribution, which I think is a big part of also measuring effectiveness, is I think no two companies should expect their attribution framework to be identical. It's just going to vary greatly based on company and what their current marketing mix looks like, if they're a stable brand or a challenger brand. And I think it can be hard to not build an analysis framework that's not proving the hypothesis you set up to prove, but an area you can turn to a partner like DMI or Rockerbox or both to help with.
Awesome. And I think we answered that question so thoroughly that we actually answered the final question as well, really. So I think we'll just close it off with, does anyone have any other thoughts that you didn't get to share in the other questions about testing channels, about marketing mix effectiveness, anything we talked about today, really? I think we were pretty thorough. So if not, we can, I think, start to wrap things up here. I don't see any more questions. I think just the one about TikTok impression tracking. We will be sending out a recording of this, so you can send it to any colleagues who want to review it as well. If you haven't already seen, there's a link to summer camp. Sign up in the chat, so feel free to do that. And with that, I think we can just wrap things up. So Steve, Kristina, Kyle, thank you guys so much for joining me today. This was great.
Thanks for having me, Maggie.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maggie.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kristina and Kyle.
All right, thanks, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.